Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, known as UUCOV. My name is Donna Jewett, and I'm the worship associate this morning in the service. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once, too, seeking for something larger than ourselves, to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create some meaning together. We do that well here. Although not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time here or with us, or your 100th time here, we hope that you'll find there are questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religion's values that challenge you to join us in a loving, boldly living justly and welcomely radically. For anyone here for the first time and feels comfortable doing so, please stand up and someone will bring a microphone to you, I hope, and we'll just introduce yourself and say hi and where you're from. Okay.
Well, good morning. I am a friend of Donna's. I'm Michelle, and I am just new to Venice. I moved 6 months ago, and I fell in love with Donna, so I'm here to support her and meet all of you. She said you're wonderful, so thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trish, and this is my first time here. I've lived in Venice for 12 years, so.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Joel, and she said it all.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so is anyone leaving this week for the north? Please let us know. Just raise your hand so we can say goodbye to you now. Okay, say bye. And I'd like you to just take 1 minute and just say hello to your neighbor, all right? And just introduce yourself. Thank you all. It's nice to be able to get to know one another here. And now, does anyone have any announcements? We do have a number on the back of your order of service, and if there's anything that's not on here that might be important, please, this will be the time for announcements. I know Amy has something.
I got one.
You got one. You can come on up here.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm not really here today. Our UUCOV Social Justice Group met this week, and we had some great discussion. What came out of it is we are going to be having a meeting that you want to attend after church next Sunday here in the sanctuary. And I will read you the wonderful sound bites that Serena sent me. Sarasota Memorial Hospital Board is up for grabs right now. This is important. Do you want it run by the medical freedom slate or by the science-based slate? So we're going to meet and let's talk about this life or death election. We're going to hear about the critical issues concerning our highly ranked hospital. Sarasota School Board is also an issue. We're also going to be talking about that. We have a current situation where the majority of current members on our school board, under the guise of parental rights, are pursuing a fairly hard right agenda that does nothing to enhance the public school system or the education of all our students. Instead, they're weakening the system. And this is absolutely a bipartisan issue. We want everybody to come and talk about this and figure out what we can do to get involved. So please consider staying after church next week. Join in the discussion. Find out how you can help. Thank you. Thank you.
One more quick announcement. Because of the Seder, the Mahjong is not meeting on Tuesday. So that's it, right? Okay. Oh, a few more? I'm sorry. Let's get. How about the animal minds? That would be quicker. Yeah, and then you can stand right there. Last week we had so many announcements that the service was almost over, but trying to keep it short and sweet.
At the beginning of the next month, we have what we call the Great Leaving here. For those of you who are still going to be around, we're going to do a building your own theology class. I'm going to facilitate it. The first session is on Wednesday, May 1st. The second on May 18th, basically every 2 weeks. There'll be only one session in June. It will be held at the sanctuary. And so I won't be able to guarantee that I can put it on Zoom or do anything else in that particular way. If you come, I will tell you the secret of the difference between saying that the golden rule is the same as the rule that says, don't do anything that you wouldn't want someone else to do to you. Okay? What time? Oh, I'm sorry, Wednesday at basically 1:15. Sir?
Thank you, Mark Murray. Following up on Amy's comments, announcement, I was approached by a member of the Sarasota District Library, and they're interested in having, there's an opening on the board. She said that they're all women at this point, and they're looking for a male who would come in and stand strong against some of the pressures that they're under on the district library board. So if anybody, I'm not trying to make any trouble here, but I was approached, and I'm a seasonal, and I think they're looking for a full-time resident male to kind of balance the board. So if somebody has an interest in that, please catch me right after this service. Thank you.
Good morning. Chalice Lighting for Belonging by Reverend Julia Corbett Haymeyer. Do this first. Here we go. We light this flame, the bright warmth of belonging, of companionship, of interdependence. We light this flame to remind us we belong to the earth, our sacred home. We light this flame to remind us we belong to human families, biological or chosen, and to the entire human family. We light this flame to celebrate this community here gathered, to which we belong, which claims our loyalty and affection. We light this flame to call to mind the transcendent, the holy, known by many names and by none, to which we also belong, which holds and sustains us. We light this flame in affirmation of the responsibility we share to make our communities where all belong. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Donna Jewett again, and I'm your worship leader this morning, and I wanted to start off today with some sacred words that remind us that we belong to the earth, to communities, and to each other. Blessed are the heavens, for they make our hearts glad. Blessed is the earth, our beloved home. It's a place of plenty. Blessed are the seas and the ocean, the lakes and the streams, for they gave us to living things. Blessed is the land, for it is the source of life. Blessed are they who protect the earth and all her creatures, from the plants of the field to the trees of the forest, for their rewards shall be in harmony with the web of existence. Rejoice and be glad, for the earth and her people are one. Come, let us worship together. So we have a gathering hymn today, and we're just going to sing this. Lisa's going to give us a few chords. You heard it in the beginning. We've got the whole world in our hands. All right, so please rise, join us.
Water And now I'm going to give the offering words on Kim McHugh. In keeping with our custom, these offering words are shared with levity because giving should never hurt. A Unitarian Universalist environmentalist dies, but through some sloppy divine bookkeeping gets sent to hell. The place is miserable, and pretty soon she just can't take it anymore. So she starts implementing eco-friendly improvements. After a while, global warming and air and water pollution are under control. The landscape is covered with edible gardens and pollinating gardens irrigated from the pond. The food is organically grown with their own compost. And the demons are happy. Even Satan is impressed. And so the Unitarian Universalist environmentalist becomes a pretty popular lady. Then one day God calls Satan up on the telephone and says with a sneer, "So how's it going down there in the pits?" Satan replies, "Man, things are going great. We have clean air and water. That brimstone problem, gone. The food is incredible. There's no telling what that environmentalist is going to fix next." God roars, "What? You have an environmentalist? That's a mistake. She should have never gotten down there. Send her up here." Satan says, "No way. I just promoted her to staff, and I'm keeping her." God says with a roll of thunder, "Send her back up here or I'll sue." So Satan answers with laughing and uproariously and answers, "Yeah, right. And just where are you going to get a lawyer?" The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
We now have something called Celebrations and Sorrows. A church is not the building, but a community. As a community of human minds and hands and hearts, we come together to share our laughter, our tears, and to bear witness and minister to one another as we struggle in our life's sorrows, and to celebrate life's joys. And we're entering into a time of sharing our joys and concerns. You can raise a hand and someone can bring you a microphone. Please share information with permission only and speak briefly, and obviously not politically. And what I'd like to do is, just before you get started, because I would like to make a quick announcement here. As a joy, I would like to introduce my friend Linda and Greg Nelson, who have been instrumental in not only doing the landscape design for us. They've done the pollinating gardens, they did the edible gardens, they provided the plants, the wisdom, and some grunt work as well to help us put everything together. And we're going to invite you all to join us afterwards to have a quick tour of our gardens, and after the service, get some food, and then and you can even harvest some of the herbs. We've got lettuce out there. We've got all kinds of good things to enjoy, and we've got a compost. We've got several composts out there. So we've invited other people to bring their compost here. So we are truly an earth-friendly congregation. And as a joy and a sorrow, we also invite you to join us as we plant a tree. We've got a live oak over there next to Actually, I want to, Lyndon and Greg, would you just stand up for a minute before I start this? Thank you. And you can meet them afterwards and ask them questions because they're a wealth of knowledge, by the way. I learned everything about edible gardens from them, and they have a place in Englewood. It's incredible. And thank you so much for all you've done. And as a joy and a sorrow, I also invite you to join us. We're going to plant a live tree, and actually it's a live oak, in dedication to our husbands. Donna Schaefer and I both lost our husband the same year, so we're putting this live oak up here, and it's a tribute to them. And it seems appropriate to this on Earth Day because I wanted to plant a tree and have something that'll be, I mean, these live oaks live to be 300 years old, and it's got a lot of branches, and Dave had a lot of kids, and Hal had a lot of kids, so it's sort of nice to have this being right here, and we'll be across from Waters Hall after the service. And I'm just going to also quickly announce that Sue Brinkerhoff had a fall. She is the one who actually was very instrumental in the Green Sanctuary here, and she did a lot of work. I was using some of the things from her Earth Day service, and I just said, she was an inspiration to me, and she just fell, and now she and her husband are both going into assisted living because they're up in Massachusetts, so I will have to go visit them. So sorry, so why don't we just open this up to any celebrations, sorrows, anything that people would like to share, please.
Thank you, Masha. Matt McHugh here, and we have a real great celebration. Kim, my wife, Kim's kid sister is visiting us for a week to enjoy a couple of birthdays. Jill Beto and Mark Beto from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. We love them here.
This is mostly a sorrow, and I'm not sure about this. I'm a relatively new member, but I've been interested in ecology ever since I can remember. And I went to EcoFest at Oscar Scheer Park on Saturday, which is when they had it. And it was like half of what it was the year before. And I've been going to these for 20 years. And it is very discouraging to me to see how much less interest there is in things. But I did talk to some interesting people. And I wondered if anyone else was aware. Oscar Scheer every year has this. It's free to go on that day. And it's a good thing to know about. Thank you.
I have a joy and a sorrow. The joy is that my dad made it out of the hospital after his fourth breaking his back. The sorrow is that he made it about 45 feet directly up to the next layer of the hospital, where he's now going to be in rehab for the next couple months. So hold him in your hearts. He's up, he's walking, so keep your fingers crossed for the guy.
I would like to add to the joys today is Matthew McHugh's birthday, and he's saying goodbye to his 70s this year.
Happy birthday, Matt. Are there any other additional joys or sorrows? Okay. May the love of this community hold all who need love and concern. May the light of our community shine upon the broken places of the world. And may we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. And may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. So now we have the choir. Sorry. Multitasking.
You're doing triple duty today.
For the beauty
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Schaefer, and our first reading today is Do Trees Talk to Each Other by Richard Grant for the Smithsonian Magazine. Since Darwin, we have generally thought of trees as striving, disconnected loners, competing for water, nutrients, and sunlight, with the winners shading out the losers and sucking them dry. There is now a substantial body of scientific evidence that refutes this idea. It shows instead that trees of the same species are communal and will often form alliance with other trees of other species. Forest trees have evolved to live cooperative, interdependent relationships maintained by communication and collective intelligence similar to an insect colony. Some are calling it the wood wide web, says writer Peter Woben in German accented English. All the trees here and in every forest that is not too damaged are connected to each other through the underground fungal networks. Trees share water and nutrients through these networks and also use them to communicate. They send distress signals about drought and disease. For example, or insect attacks and other trees alter their behavior when they receive these messages. For the young saplings in a deeply shaded part of the forest, the network is literally a lifeline. Lacking the sunlight to photosynthesize, they strive because big trees, including their parents, pump sugar into their roots through the network. Woburn likes to say that a mother tree suckles their young, which both stretches the metaphor and gets the point across vividly. Once he came across a giant beech stump in the forest, 4 or 5 feet across. The tree was felled 400 to 500 years ago But scraping away the surface with his penknife, Wolben found something astonishing. The stump was still green and filled with chlorophyll. There's only one explanation. The surrounding beaches were keeping it alive by pumping sugar into it through the network. When beaches do this, they remind me of elephants, he says. They are reluctant to abandon their dead. To communicate through the network, trees send chemical, hormonal, and slow pulsing electrical signals, which scientists are beginning to decipher. Alarm and distress appear to be main topics of tree conversation, although Woburn wonders if that's all they talk about. What do trees say when there is no danger and they feel content? This I would love to know. Trees communicate through the air using pheromones and other signals. Woburn's favorite example occurs in the hot, dusty savannas of sub-Saharan Africa, where the wide-crowned umbrella thorn acacias is the emblematic tree. When a giraffe starts chewing acacia leaves, the tree notices the injury and emits a distress signal in the form of ethylene gas. Upon detecting this gas, neighboring acacias start pumping tannins into their leaves. In large enough quantities, these compounds can sicken and even kill a large herbivore. Trees can detect scents through their leaves, for which Woburn qualifies as a sense of smell. They also have a sense of taste. When elms and pines come together under attack by leaf-eating caterpillars, for example, they detect the caterpillar's saliva and release pheromones that attract parasitic wasps. Very unpleasant for the caterpillar, Woburn says. Very clever of the trees. Our boots come through the glittering snow from time to time. I think of objections to Woburn's anthropomorphic metaphors, but more often I sense my ignorance and blindness falling away. I had never really looked at trees before or thought about life from their perspective. I had taken trees for granted in a way that would never be possible again. Our words for the meditation this morning come from and inspired by the words of Chief Seattle. We know this: the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Holding these words in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent meditation, thought, or prayer.
Good morning. I'm Olga Hebert. Our second reading this morning is A Prayer for the Common Environmental Good by Jane Darren. I knew nothing about Jane Darren or her poetry, but did find her original poem online. So what I will read today is an adapted version meant to align the lexicon with UU sensibilities. But to avoid accusation of cultural appropriation, I do have to say the poet and her poetry are well known in movements within the Catholic Church that view the earth with reverence and undertake environmental action with recognition of the interdependence of all things. So, a prayer for the environmental common good. As we breathe the very air which sustains us, we remember your love, O earth, our source of life. Fill us with compassion for creation. Empty us of apathy, selfishness, and fear, of all pessimism and hesitation. Breathe into us solidarity with all who suffer now and the future generations who will suffer because of our environmental irresponsibility. Move us into action to save our mother and build a sustainable world. Amen.
So
bit of multitasking today, which I love. It's part of my spirit. And we have a wonderful sermon. It's called Singing an Earth Song. Children's author and illustrator Tasha Tudor was born in Boston, Massachusetts on August 28, 1915. Over the years, she married and divorced and moved to Connecticut, New Hampshire, and last to her beloved Vermont. Before her death in 2008, Tasha wrote and illustrated over 100 children's books, winning the Caldecott Medal for her 1945 Mother Goose and her 1957 One is One. And in 1971, she was awarded the Regina Medal for her contributions to children's literature. Most of you have knowingly seen her work in the children's classics. And they are like A Little Princess, Wind in the Willows, Little Women, Mother Goose, and so many more. Tasha's carefully drawn and watercolored pen and ink drawings are astounding for their delicacy and detail. A tiny little mouse takes her tea, her joy, and evidence in her nose and her little whiskers. And a boy and his cat sit at the table with their fondness for each other and very visible in every line of their body. But it's not Tasha's illustrations or even her charming stories of the simple values and talking animals that make her so interesting. Tasha Tudor is fascinated not because of what she did, but because of how she did it. In order to tell these simple stories and paint simple characters honestly and from her heart, Tasha Tudor created her own world, the world of the 1830s. She lived without electricity, running water, chose not to have a telephone, radio, TV, or even an internet like we don't have today. Her food came from her own gardens and orchards, her meat and her eggs from the animals she raised. She lit her home with her candles, she dipped herself, and she made her own clothing from her handmade cloth. Once her children were older, Tasha and her family moved to her secluded farm in Vermont. There, her son, using only the hand tools of the 1800s, built a home from the creek and stone and the wood. Visitors from the farm greeted by a slender woman with long gray hair, a pair of antique wire-glaring glasses, dressed in her black button boots and a skirt and apron and ever-present headscarf. Inside on her table were her paints and her pencils. No computer, not even in 2000. She communicated by handwritten letter and was fond of the motor cars. Not fond of them, sorry. All of this was done not as a marketing ploy, because she allowed no unscheduled visitors to the farm and did very little personal marketing of herself. Her life was intentionally and mindfully arranged to create and foster the values she held so dearly. Love of her planet, love of the land and her family, the desire for simplicity and honesty. She chose to make the tasks of her everyday life an outward expression of her inner beliefs. And let nothing come into her world which didn't reflect her own heart. Each activity of her daily life became a sacred ritual, deliberately designed to create personal transformation and to continue and to reinforce the things that she wanted to see in the world. Tasha loved the earth and the things on it so greatly that in order to be the person she wanted to be and to show this in her work, she turned from modern life. Now, this is one far end to a spectrum. The other end is perhaps a little more unpleasant. In the 1970s, a young man grew up in northern and eastern Kentucky. David loved and still loves this planet and everything on it. In high school, he became a vegetarian, far before it was a popular option, and the other boys and some of the girls would even bully him for being a vegetarian because it wasn't manly, and he had to learn to cook, and his parents didn't believe that that stuff was just for sissies, and that real men ate meat. In college, David joined the first animal rights group and then another, and then he worked to help make sure that the undocumented people who came to work in the tobacco and apple orchards were treated fairly by local farmers. But that wasn't enough for him. In 1978, he joined a group that broke into laboratories, freed captive lab animals, It broke his heart to see the damage and made him cry to have them euthanized because the animals had been so hurt too much or made too violent that they could never live normally again. He began to correspond with a group of people in the Pacific Northwest. These people who told him about the fight to stop the terrible commercial logging practices. For them, this fight involves something called monkey wrenching, damaging logging property and making it so dangerous to continue working that the companies would back down. David helped his new friends and implement several monkey wrenching ideas from his home in Kentucky. And then he moved so that he could continue to help without the risk of being intercepted with mail or tapped phone calls. A few months later, he went underground after helping to cause a massive logging incident or accident that destroyed almost $1 million in the property and sent 4 crewmen to the hospital. 37 years later, he still lives somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, popping up on message boards, eco websites to give advice on eco-terrorism. Like Tasha, David loved the earth and its beings, and like her, his life evolves around deliberate ways of being in the community and with his planet. And he is the other end of the spectrum. But both ends are too extreme for most people. You don't have to retreat from modern life to experience the earth, nor do you need to threaten human beings and destroy property. But you can live your life, your normal life, and yet with it recognize each action is an impact on the world around you. On this Earth Day Sunday, let us reclaim the sacredness of our behaviors. We can find the religious and holy in environmental and personal action. In a 2008 documentary film called Renewal, it was released. It presents 8 different stories of what the creators referred to as America's religious environmental movement. In this movement, it's getting bigger. Across the country, people are realizing that environmental sustainability is directly connected to our sacred ways of being in the world. The stories on the DVD range across a wide variety of issues, sacred responses. A story called Food for Faith is primarily about a Muslim food charity, and this co-op feeds the homeless, the undernourished, and of South Chicago a meal every Sunday. The organizers are following an essential tenet of Islam as they work to feed those who can't get enough food for themselves. Their problem arose when they realized that although they were following their beliefs and providing help for those who needed it, they're not actually doing this in a sacred way. A tour of the factory farms sickened them as they saw the conditions and the animals were held in. And then they began to educate themselves about the industrial vegetable growth message, and they realized that they were exposing themselves and others to dangerous insecticides and other harmful chemicals. Determined to find a better way, the group made contact with the farmers, mostly Christians, who raised the animals with love and care. The farmers who grow the crops organically, their co-op began to purchase from these farmers, and following and allowing the Muslims to buy healthier food from them and allowing them to give their profits to buy more healthy food to give away. As the program grew, so did the relationship between the co-op members, the farmers who supplied them, and a memorable scene toward the end of the clip was filmed on a Ramadan dinner where one of the farmers and his family had been invited to share a meal with a co-op member. By approaching the task of purchasing food as a sacred task, a task that had to conform to their deeply held values, the co-op was able not only to achieve their original goal of feeding both themselves and the hungry of Chicago, but also to foster understanding between themselves and local farmers, who admit that during the video that they were originally nervous about getting to know and interact with the Muslims. This is religious environmentalism in action. Other renewal stories are similar stories, not only of what was done, more importantly, how it was done, what values and beliefs were shown by the process, not just the goal. It's easy to lose sight of this need for remaining in the right relationship to the earth through each step of our actions. And renewal does an excellent job of showing that it not matter what the faith, most of us do, recognize that the web of life that weaves us together in everything we do. Many of us participate in environmentalist activities to one degree or another, and some recycle, fight fracking, mountaintop renewal. Others try to limit their paper waste, slow down the consumption of fossil fuels. But loving the earth, our earth, is just about how we do environmentalism. Your interactions with your planet are not always about what you are doing for it. Sometimes they are about how you are doing everything else in your life. You are part of the web, of the earth system. And when you eat and drink and play and shop, like Tasha Tuda, like David, you create the world you wish to live in. You are a part of the sacred symphony, singing an earth song. Buy from the store, which sell healthy food at reasonable prices, absolutely, and then cook a meal and share that with a mom next door who only knows how to buy food from Wendy's and gets a taste to what safe, healthy food really tastes like. Make the process sacred. Protest inappropriate logging and destruction of the forest, certainly, and then organize an interfaith tree planting group and together explore the holiness of the wilder land. Do what you are doing in a manner that reflects your relationship with the planet and recognize how your impact on the earth. And as a UU singer-songwriter, Peter Meyer, said, everything is holy now. We are one planet, one people. Let your practices be your prayer. Saving the earth doesn't happen just through eco-action, but as we move through our daily lives. On Earth Day and every day, may our lives be a song which heals the planet, which helps us to bring peace and health to the world. One people, one planet, one song. Your voice is important. So sing loudly. Amen. Thank you. All right. Alisa.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of the sun, the richness of the earth, the coolness of the wind, or the crispness of the flowing water. May we remember always that we belong to the earth.
Oh
Yes, please sit down. Spirit of life, we thank you for this day and this world. May we go boldly on our journey, adventuring through the bright and beautiful, dark and wild. In our travels, may we learn to live kindly with our planet and with one another, working earnestly, lovingly, honestly, and laughing together. Peace, and may it be so. Remind you to join us outside after the service for our garden tour and our tree planting and dedication. And now you can stand up and we can sing, May Love Surround You.